Whenever I get the opportunity to engage with the Delbarton community again, it's always a great pleasure. So I'll start today, I guess, just by telling you a bit about myself and my story to coming to Delbarton, which is a bit unusual, I think, compared to the typical Delbarton student. I was born in Washington, D.C., and I lived there for 7 years before I moved to Sao Paulo, Brazil, where I lived for 9 years. It's where my father grew up, and I moved with him and my older brother to Sao Paulo, Brazil, to live with his grandparents there as well. And so I lived in Sao Paulo for 7 years, and I spent those 7 years pretty much never having heard about Delbarton at all. The one school that I had in my mind was University of Pennsylvania. My grandfather was a Penn graduate, and walking around his house, you always saw Penn things, and that really ingrained in me a desire to go to Penn. And so in October of 2009, I came back to New Jersey to my aunt's wedding, and we were sitting at the table, and I was talking to my grandmother and my aunt, and I was saying, I really want to go to Penn, but I don't think that staying in Brazil is really going to get me there and going to prepare me in the way that I think I need to be prepared. What would be the options to coming to New Jersey? And so my grandmother said, well, I live in Dover, so we can go to Dover High School, or we could pay a bit and maybe go to Randolph High School. So those options sounded okay, but they said, you know what, actually there's a school, Delbarton, it's a 25-minute drive away, but it's very good academically, it's very good athletically, and the students there pretty much always go on to do great things. And so I was like, okay, that's the one for me, I think. And so following the wedding, I went back to Brazil, and I just started doing research on Delbarton as much as I could at the time. And my first step sort of becoming involved with the Delbarton community was I sent an email to Dr. Donovan. Said, hello, my name is Francisco, I'm very interested in the school, and I would love to go to this school. And I actually wrote Delbarton, space Barton. I guess I did not do my research that well, looking back on it. And so he said, okay, yeah, we have the application process, why don't you go and start doing that? And so for the next 3 months, pretty much that was what I did every single day. I would get back from school, I'd do my homework, whatever it was I need to do, and then I'd start writing my essays. I had to get recommendation letters from my Brazilian teachers, which they would write in Portuguese, which I then put together and took to the school's English teacher to have translated, to then send over to Delbarton. Once I had the application in, I came to Delbarton in December of 2009. I missed my middle school graduation to meet with Dr. Donovan and have my interview and meet with everyone. And Brother Paul actually remembers that day till today. He said he remembers me sitting in front of Connie's office and in the main office, and he walked in and he said, "You're Francisco Martinez? You don't look very Martinez to me." And I get that a lot. And so then after that, it was just waiting, right? I think you guys have likely all been there with your kids, where you submit that application, then it's time to wait. And so I waited for 5 months. Until a day in May of 2010 when my father picked me up from school with tears in his eyes and said, "Franny, you've been accepted to Delbarton, and on top of that you have a full ride, a full scholarship." And so that was a big moment, right? Because I grew up always being told that education is a very important thing, but sort of the best education is usually reserved to a select few. To be able to take that burden off my family while still going to Delbarton and getting the best education was a very, very big thing for me. And I think I was good that I understood that at that point. And then it was fun, right? So then it was joining Delbarton. I joined as actually a sophomore transfer student. I came my sophomore, junior, and senior year. I was on the soccer team, state champion in 2012. Happy that they're keeping the trend going this year. I was senior class president my senior year. I was president of the Spanish Society, president of Students Against Destructive Decisions, and member of a few different other organizations on campus. And more than all, it was just part of the Green Wave. You know, I think looking back, what I really cherish the most is those moments when you're at homecoming, when you're in the locker room with your soccer team. Being a part of that community and having that support is something very special that I think other schools really can't compare to. And then following my time at Delbarton, I graduated and I went on to Princeton University, again with another full ride, which is again just crazy to have gone through that. And so I just graduated this past June. I'm now living in New York City. But I think what I really want to touch on is that following my graduation, in the months leading up to it and the months after it, it was a big period of reflection for me. And I think it takes sort of big life events like graduations, funerals, weddings, whatever it is, for you to be able to take a step back and look at what has happened in your life that has led you to that moment. And in doing so over these past few months, I realized two very important things to me specifically. And the first is that I'm an incredibly fortunate young man. And two, that I have many things and people to be thankful for. And so connecting that to tonight, I just wanted to sort of read that list off, and hopefully that will resonate with you in some way. First, I'm thankful to have a wonderful family who has always supported and believed in me. I'm thankful that my grandmother was willing to take on the role of mother again, a role she served for the past 7 years while I was at Delbarton and Princeton. I'm thankful to have been given the opportunity to go to Delbarton and to have grown up in such an intellectually curious and welcoming environment where my only concern and worry was about learning and nothing else. I think that's an amazing thing. And last, and I think it's what connects directly to tonight, is I'm incredibly thankful for all of you in this room today, and people just like you in previous years and parents like you that will come along in future years. Thank you for your generosity, thank you for your kindness, and thank you for opening Delbarton doors to students just like myself who otherwise wouldn't have an opportunity to be part of such an amazing community and benefit from all the amazing things that Delbarton has to offer. So I'm hoping that we can raise some more money tonight, as forceful as that sounds, but I think in the end, if we can get a great student to join Delbarton who otherwise wouldn't have been able to, I think that's a huge win for all of us here tonight. And I'd like to join in that as well, and hopefully we can continue to work on that 2 years coming. Thank you very much.
Cheers.